They say revenge is a dish best served cold. But what happens when you freeze it for exactly 2 years, 3 months, and 17 days? When you smile at family dinners while secretly dismantling everything your cheating husband built? When you befriend the woman who destroyed your marriage just to destroy her back? My name is Elena Martinez. I was a successful architect with a picture-perfect marriage, a multi-million-dollar home, and a best friend I'd known since we were 7 years old. Then one Thursday afternoon, I came home early from a site inspection and found my husband of 15 years in our bed, with her, with Rachel, my childhood best friend, the woman who was supposed to be my daughter's godmother. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I didn't confront them. I closed that door quietly, walked downstairs, and I planned. For over 2 years, I played the perfect wife while orchestrating the most devastating takedown you could possibly imagine. By the time I was finished, my husband's billion-dollar construction empire was in ruins. Rachel lost everything she'd ever worked for, and I built something even bigger from their ashes. This is my story. And trust me, you won't believe how this ends. But before we dive into the most satisfying revenge you'll hear today, do me one favor. Hit that subscribe button right now, because this channel brings you real stories, real drama, and real justice every single week. Stories that'll make you feel everything, and you absolutely don't want to miss what comes next. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. 15 years ago, I married Marcus Thompson. He wasn't just handsome, successful, and charming. He was my college sweetheart, my best friend, my everything. We met at Columbia University when I was studying architecture and he was in business school. Marcus came from old money, but he had something to prove. His father had built Thompson Construction from nothing, and Marcus wanted to take it further. Bigger projects, international contracts. He had ambition that matched mine. I fell hard. We all do when we're 22 and someone looks at us like their entire world, right? We got married in this absolutely breathtaking ceremony in the Hamptons. 300 guests. Rachel was my maid of honor, of course. She'd been my person since 2nd grade when she defended me from bullies on the playground. We were inseparable, sisters by choice. Marcus and I built our life together, brick by brick. While he expanded his father's company after the old man retired, I made a name for myself in sustainable architecture. I designed eco-luxury homes for celebrities, innovative office spaces, entire community developments. We were featured in Architectural Digest. Forbes did a spread on us as one of New York's power couples under 40. We had money, success, a beautiful daughter named Sophie who was 12 years old, and a 19-room mansion in Westchester that I'd designed myself. From the outside, we were perfect. Rachel was always around. Always. She was Sophie's godmother, my business partner on several projects, and honestly, she felt like family. More than that, actually. She'd been there through my mother's death, through 2 miscarriages before Sophie, through every high and low. Marcus loved her too, or so I thought. He'd joke that Rachel was like the sister he never had. They'd gang up on me playfully, teasing me about my obsessive color coding or how I alphabetized the spice rack. Looking back now, I can see the signs I missed. How Rachel would touch Marcus's arm just a little too long when she laughed at his jokes. How he'd light up when she entered a room in a way that had stopped happening with me years ago. How they'd share these inside jokes that somehow excluded me. But I trusted them, both of them, completely. That was my first mistake. My second mistake was becoming complacent. I'd gotten so focused on my career, on raising Sophie, on managing our household, that I stopped paying attention to my marriage. Marcus and I had become roommates who co-parented. We were efficient, polite, distant. We hadn't had sex in almost 8 months. We didn't fight because we barely talked about anything meaningful. I kept telling myself it was just a phase, that all marriages go through this, that we'd reconnect eventually. I was building a $20 million eco-resort in Costa Rica at the time, traveling back and forth every other week. Marcus was closing deals for 3 major construction projects: a hospital in Boston, a stadium renovation in Philadelphia, and a luxury condo tower in Miami. We were both exhausted, both consumed with work. And, apparently, while I was pouring concrete in Central America, my husband was pouring his attention into my best friend. It was a Thursday, May 14th. I'll never forget that date. I was supposed to be in Costa Rica for another 3 days, but we'd finished the foundation inspection early. I caught an earlier flight home, excited to surprise Marcus and Sophie. I'd even bought gifts, handmade bracelets from a local artisan. I texted Marcus that I'd landed, but he didn't respond. That wasn't unusual. He was probably in meetings. When I pulled into our driveway at 2:30 in the afternoon, I noticed Rachel's silver Tesla parked in our garage. Also not unusual. She had a key. She came over all the time. But something felt off. The house was too quiet. Sophie was at school. Our housekeeper had Thursdays off. I called out, "Hello? Marcus? Rachel?" Nothing. I walked through our living room, past the kitchen, toward the home office. That's when I heard this, a sound that made my blood run cold. Laughter. Rachel's distinctive laugh, breathy and high-pitched, coming from upstairs, from our bedroom. My hands started shaking. I told myself I was being ridiculous, that there was a perfectly logical explanation. Maybe they were planning a surprise for me. Maybe they were looking at something funny on a laptop. But my gut knew. Your gut always knows, doesn't it? I walked up those stairs in complete silence. Each step felt like walking toward an execution. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Our bedroom door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open 6 inches, just enough to see. My husband, my best friend, in our bed. The bed I'd chosen, in the room I'd designed, in the house I'd built. Marcus was on top of her. Rachel's head was thrown back, her red hair splayed across my pillows. They were so lost in each other they didn't even notice me standing there. I swear I felt something inside me just shatter into a million pieces, like my entire reality crumbled in that single moment. But here's the thing. In that devastating instant, something else happened too. I became ice-cold calm. Rage, when it's hot, makes you do stupid things. You scream, you confront, you give away your power. But rage, when it freezes solid, turns into something else entirely. Strategy. I stood there for exactly 45 seconds, watching them, memorizing every detail. The way he touched her, the way she responded to him, things he used to do with me. Then I backed away silently, went downstairs, and got in my car and drove away. They never knew I'd been there. I drove for 2 hours straight, no destination, just driving. My mind was racing through everything. 15 years of marriage, a lifetime of friendship with Rachel, every shared moment, every intimate secret I'd trusted her with, every time Marcus told me he loved me. All lies. Everything was lies. I pulled over at this random parking lot overlooking the Hudson River, and I cried. I cried so hard I thought I might vomit. The kind of crying where you can't breathe, where sounds come out of you that don't seem human. But after 30 minutes, something shifted. I was done crying. I wasn't going to be the victim in this story. I wasn't going to be the pathetic wife who got cheated on and divorced and lost half of everything she'd worked for. No, I was going to burn their entire world down, and they'd never see it coming.
The first thing I did was become an actress, an award-winning, Oscar-caliber actress. I came home that evening at my normal time, acting like I'd just landed. Marcus was there, showered, dressed in fresh clothes, working in his office like nothing had happened. "Hey, babe, you're home early." He kissed my cheek. His lips touched my skin, and I wanted to recoil, but I smiled instead. "Wrapped up the inspection faster than expected. Where's Sophie?" "Soccer practice. Rachel's picking her up, actually." Of course she was. Saint Rachel, always helping out. That's so sweet of her. I'd perfected that tone. Warm, grateful, completely oblivious. Over dinner, Marcus told me about his day: business calls, meetings, progress on the Philadelphia Stadium project. He was a good liar, natural, smooth. He'd probably been lying for months, maybe longer. When Rachel dropped Sophie off an hour later, she came in for wine like she always did. We sat in my living room, drinking Chardonnay, talking about everything and nothing. She hugged me goodbye. "I missed you this week, Elle. It's not the same when you're gone." I hugged her back. "Missed you too. You're the best, Rach. Don't know what I'd do without you." Her betrayal tasted like ash in my mouth, but I smiled through it. That night, after Marcus fell asleep, I started my investigation. I hired a private investigator the next morning, not just any PI. I found the absolute best in New York City, former FBI, specialized in corporate espionage and infidelity cases. His name was David Chen, and he cost $5,000 a day, worth every penny. Within 2 weeks, David gave me my first report. Marcus and Rachel had been having an affair for 14 months. 14 months. It started, apparently, when I was in Costa Rica for a month-long stretch. Rachel came over to keep Marcus company. They got drunk. One thing led to another. Classic story, right? But it didn't stop there. They'd been meeting up 2 to 3 times a week, sometimes at our house when Sophie was at school, sometimes at Rachel's apartment. Twice, they'd even gone away for weekends together, telling everyone they were at separate work conferences. David provided photos, videos, hotel receipts, text messages he'd retrieved through methods I didn't ask about. The messages were the worst part. Reading them felt like being stabbed repeatedly. "I love you more than anything. I wish you were mine. Leaving her feels impossible, but staying is killing me. You make me feel alive again. Elena and I are just existing. Sophie deserves a happy father. Maybe we should tell her." They were planning to be together, actually planning a future while I was completely in the dark. But here's what really got me. Rachel had written, "Elena's so cold and career-obsessed now. She doesn't even notice Marcus anymore. Honestly, we're doing her a favor. Maybe she'll be happier when she's free to focus on her work." A favor. They thought they were doing me a favor. I sat in my parked car reading those messages, and I felt that cold rage solidify even further. But I needed more than proof of infidelity. I needed to hit them where it really hurt. So I started digging into Marcus's business. Thompson Construction had been in his family for 40 years. His father, Richard Thompson, had built it into a $300 million company before retiring and handing it to Marcus 10 years ago. Under Marcus's leadership, it had grown to just over $1 billion in annual revenue. Impressive, right? Except, here's what I discovered when I really looked at the books. Because yes, as his wife, I had access to our shared financial accounts and documents. Marcus was cutting corners. Serious, illegal corners. He was using substandard materials and pocketing the difference. He'd bribed building inspectors on at least 4 major projects. He'd been systematically overcharging clients by inflating labor costs and then paying workers less than he claimed. The Philadelphia Stadium project? The concrete mix was 30% weaker than code required. The Boston Hospital? Electrical systems installed by unlicensed contractors to save money. Marcus had been so focused on growth, on being bigger than his father, that he'd compromised everything his family had built on integrity. One major inspection, one whistleblower, one lawsuit, and the entire company would collapse. I'd found my ammunition, but I wasn't ready to fire yet, because revenge isn't a sprint. It's a marathon, and I was going to make sure that when I crossed that finish line, they were destroyed so completely they'd never recover. For the next 2 years, I became someone I didn't recognize. On the surface, I was the perfect wife, the devoted friend, the successful architect. Underneath,
I was a weapon being sharpened day by day. I actually improved my relationship with Marcus. I know that sounds insane, but hear me out. I started initiating sex again. Date nights, love notes in his briefcase. I asked about his day and actually listened. I complimented him, supported his business decisions, played the adoring wife at company events. Marcus was confused at first, then delighted. He thought we were reconnecting. He'd tell Rachel, yes, David was still monitoring their communications, that he felt guilty because I was being so amazing lately. Good, let him feel guilty. With Rachel, I became even closer. Girls' trips, weekly lunches. I'd cry on her shoulder about how I felt distant from Marcus sometimes, how I worried our marriage had lost its spark. She'd comfort me while secretly sleeping with my husband. The cognitive dissonance must have been exhausting for her. Meanwhile, I was building my exit strategy. I moved money, carefully, quietly, legally. I had my own income from my architecture firm, and I started funneling it into offshore accounts and investments that were solely in my name. I documented every penny of marital assets, created detailed spreadsheets, made copies of every important document. I also started recording everything. New York is a one-party consent state, which means I could legally record conversations as long as I was part of them. I recorded discussions with Marcus about his business practices. I recorded him bragging about how he'd gotten around building codes. I recorded him complaining about useless inspectors who actually tried to do their jobs. Every word became evidence. I also reconnected with Marcus's father, Richard. The old man was 78, retired, living in Florida. Marcus barely spoke to him anymore, some old resentment about feeling he had to live up to his father's legacy. But I called Richard every week, just to chat, I said, to hear his stories about the old days. What I was really doing was learning everything about the company's history, its original values, its partnerships. Richard was old school, integrity above everything. He had no idea what his son had become. Those conversations broke my heart a little bit. Richard loved Marcus so much, he was proud of him. When this all came out, it would destroy Richard too. But I couldn't think about that. Collateral damage was inevitable. I also did something calculated with Sophie. My daughter was 14 by this point, perceptive and smart. She'd started asking questions about why she seemed sad sometimes, why Daddy was on his phone so much, why Aunt Rachel was around even more than usual. I never told her the truth, never poisoned her against her father, but I did make sure I was the present parent. I went to every soccer game, helped with homework every night, had actual conversations about her life, her friends, her dreams. When this all exploded, I wanted Sophie to know who was really there for her. Then, about 18 months into my plan, something happened that accelerated everything. Marcus asked me for a divorce.
It was a Saturday morning. Sophie was at a sleepover. We were having coffee in our kitchen, this bright, beautiful space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking our gardens. Marcus was nervous, I could tell. He kept clearing his throat, not making eye contact. "Elena, we need to talk." Here it was. I'd been expecting this for months. "Sure, what's going on?" This isn't easy to say, but I don't think we should be married anymore." I paused, letting the silence stretch, made my face look shocked, hurt. "What? Marcus, where is this coming from?" "We've been growing apart for years, you know that. We're more like business partners than spouses. I think we'd both be happier if we made it official." "Is there someone else?" I asked it so quietly, so vulnerably. Academy Award-worthy performance. He had the decency to look ashamed. No, that's not what this is about. I think we've run our course." Liar. Such a smooth, practiced liar. "I need time to process this," I said.
This is blindsiding me, Marcus. 15 years of marriage, and you want to just end it? I'm sorry, I really am, but I think it's the right thing. We can do this amicably. Fair split, 50-50 on everything. We'll co-parent Sophie. No drama. 50-50. He wanted half of everything, including my architecture firm that I'd built myself, half of the money I'd earned. Plus, he'd probably assumed he'd walk away with Rachel, start fresh, keep his company intact. Okay, I finally said, if that's what you want, but let's do this slowly, for Sophie's sake. She doesn't need her world destroyed overnight. Relief washed over his face. Thank you for understanding. You're amazing, Elena. You really are. I nodded, excused myself, went upstairs to our bedroom, and smiled. He'd just made this so much easier. Because now I didn't have to initiate the divorce. He did, which meant he looked like the bad guy, and it meant I could drag this process out exactly as long as I needed to finish destroying him. I called my lawyer that afternoon, not our family lawyer, Marcus's friend. I hired the most vicious divorce attorney in New York City, a woman named Patricia Valdez, who had a reputation for absolutely annihilating unfaithful husbands. I need you to stall, I told her. Make the divorce proceedings as slow as humanly possible. I need time. How much time? 6 months, maybe 8. I'm not ready to pull the trigger yet. Patricia raised an eyebrow. She was 60 years old, sharp as a blade, and she'd seen everything. What are you planning? Let's just say my husband has been very, very bad in ways that have nothing to do with his affair, and when I'm ready, I'm not just taking him to divorce court, I'm taking him to actual court. She smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. I like you. Consider it done. Over the next months, Patricia did exactly what I'd asked her. She requested document after document, depositions, asset evaluations. She challenged every single thing Marcus proposed. She made his lawyers work for every inch. Marcus grew frustrated, but he stayed patient. He thought I was just being difficult because I was hurt. He had no idea what was really happening. During this time, David provided me with updated reports. The affair was escalating. Marcus and Rachel were now openly discussing moving together after the divorce was finalized. Rachel had started looking at apartments for them. They were planning their future while I planned their destruction. And finally, after 2 years, 3 months, and 17 days from the moment I'd first discovered their betrayal, I was ready. I had evidence of Marcus's affair so comprehensive it was undeniable. I had documentation of his business fraud so detailed it could fill a federal investigation. I had recordings, photographs, financial statements, everything. I had allies in place, including several of Marcus's own business partners, who I'd quietly approached with concerns about some of the company's practices. I had moved every asset I could possibly move into protected accounts, and I had one more weapon I hadn't used yet: Marcus's father, Richard. I'd been recording my weekly calls with him for months. Innocent conversations about family, about business ethics, about what the Thompson name meant. In one particularly poignant conversation, Richard had said, "Elena, I built that company on one principle: integrity. Every building we constructed, I wanted to know that 100 years from now it would still be standing safe and strong. That was the Thompson promise. I hope Marcus has kept that alive." I'm sure he has. Lying, but documenting. Now it was time to show Richard what his son had really become. I started my demolition on a Monday morning. Mondays are terrible days to receive life-destroying news, which is exactly why I chose it. First, I sent a comprehensive package to Marcus's business partners, all 5 of them, senior executives who owned minority stakes in Thompson Construction. The package contained detailed documentation of Marcus's fraud across multiple projects, evidence of bribed inspectors, proof of substandard materials usage, financial statements showing where money had been illegally diverted, engineering reports I'd commissioned that showed exactly how dangerous some of his shortcuts had been. I included a cover letter. As someone who has been part of the Thompson family for 15 years, I can no longer stay silent about practices that endanger lives and destroy the reputation Richard Thompson spent his life building. I believe you, as partners, deserve to know the truth about what's been done in your names. By noon, Marcus's phone was exploding. Second, I contacted the district attorney's office in Philadelphia. The stadium project had been a public works contract, which meant Marcus's fraud wasn't just civil, it was criminal. I provided them with everything. They opened an investigation immediately. Third, I sent a package to the Boston Hospital Board. Their building, which was supposed to be state-of-the-art and safe, had been compromised by unlicensed electrical work and inferior materials. People's lives were at risk. They filed a lawsuit within 48 hours. Fourth, and this was the most personally satisfying, I sent everything to Richard Thompson. I included a letter. Dad, I call you that because you've been more of a father to me than my own ever was. What I'm about to show you will break your heart. It broke mine, but you deserve to know what's been done to the company you built, to the name you gave Marcus, to the legacy you trusted him with. I'm so sorry. I wish I could protect you from this, but you taught me that integrity matters more than anything, so here's the truth. All of it. With love, Elena. Then I waited. Marcus came home that evening looking like he'd aged 10 years. His face was gray. His hands were shaking. Elena, we need to talk. Now. I was cooking dinner. Pasta. I didn't even turn around. About what? You know exactly what. What the fuck did you do? I finally looked at him, kept my expression neutral. I have no idea what you're talking about. Bullshit. My partners are threatening to sue me. The DA's office called. The hospital board. All of this happened today, the same day, and you're telling me you have nothing to do with it? Marcus, if your business partners and the DA and a hospital board are all suddenly interested in your company, maybe the problem is what you've done, not who reported it. His face turned red. You vindictive bitch. You're trying to destroy me because I want a divorce? We could have done this civilly. We absolutely could have, I said calmly, but that would have required you to be civil, to be honest, to be faithful. The color drained from his face. What? I know about Rachel. I've known for 2 years, 3 months, and 18 days, since the Thursday I came home early from Costa Rica and found you fucking my best friend in our bed. You should have seen his expression. It would have been comical if it wasn't so pathetic.
Elena, I can explain. Don't. I've heard your lies for long enough. Here's what's going to happen now. You're going to give me everything I want in the divorce. The house, full custody of Sophie, 70% of our shared assets. You'll be lucky if you have enough left to afford a decent lawyer for your criminal trial. You can't do this. I already did. And, Marcus, this isn't about the affair. I mean, yes, you're a cheating piece of shit, and yes, you betrayed me with someone I loved like a sister. But what I really can't forgive is that you compromised your integrity. You built unsafe buildings. You endangered lives. You destroyed what your father spent 40 years creating. That's unforgivable. My father? I sent him everything, every document, every piece of evidence. He knows exactly what kind of man you really are. Marcus actually staggered. He gripped the counter to steady himself. You told my father? I deserved to know. He'll never forgive me. No, I agreed. He probably won't. Marcus slid down to the floor, his back against the kitchen cabinets. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. What about Rachel? He whispered. I smiled then. Really smiled. Oh, honey, Rachel is next. Rachel had no idea the storm was coming. While Marcus's professional life was imploding, Rachel and I still had our weekly lunch scheduled. She'd texted me that morning. Can't wait to see you today. Need girl time. Heart. We met at this upscale bistro in Manhattan that we'd been going to for years. Our spot. Rachel looked concerned when she arrived. Elle, oh my God, I heard about Marcus's business troubles. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Such a good actress. I'd taught her well. I'm managing, I said. It's been a difficult couple of days. Actually, that's why I wanted to see you. I need to talk to someone I trust. Of course, anything. You know I'm here for you. We ordered wine, made small talk. Then I leaned in, like I was about to share something confidential. Ratch, can I tell you something about Marcus? She grabbed my hand. Always. I think he asked me for a divorce. She did her shocked face, wide eyes, hand over mouth. What? No, when? A few months ago. We've been trying to work through it quietly for Sophie's sake, but honestly, I think there might be someone else. I watched her face carefully. Guilt flickered across it before she controlled it. Why would you think that? Just a feeling. He's been so distant, and he's been spending time with someone, I'm sure of it. I just can't figure out who. Rachel's hand tightened on mine. Elena, if he's cheating on you, he's an idiot. You're amazing. You deserve so much better. Do you think I should hire a private investigator? Try to find out for sure? Maybe you should just ask him directly. I'm scared of what I'll find. I let my voice break a little. What if it's someone I know? What if it's someone I trust? That would destroy me, Ratch. She looked like she might be sick. Good. I'm sure it's no one you know, she said weakly. I pulled out my phone. Actually, there's something I need to show you. I opened a folder, started scrolling through photos. Rachel and Marcus entering a hotel, kissing in his car, her leaving our house adjusting her clothes. Rachel's face went chalk white. How long have you had these? She whispered. 2 years, give or take. Elena. No, you don't get to explain. You don't get to apologize. You don't get to tell me it just happened, or it didn't mean anything, or whatever other bullshit you've prepared. Please, I never wanted to hurt you. But you did. For 14 months you hurt me. You fucked my husband in my bed, in my house, and then you came to me and hugged me and told me you loved me. Tears were streaming down her face. I know, I'm so sorry. It was wrong. I was wrong. I hate myself. Not as much as I hate you. Rachel was sobbing now. People in the restaurant were starting to stare. I didn't care. What are you going to do? She asked. Well, let's see. I've already destroyed Marcus's career and possibly sent him to prison. But you, Rachel, you're special. You were my friend first, so I wanted to do something really special for you, too. I pulled out another folder. This one was thicker. Did you know that your architecture license is contingent on maintaining ethical standards? That includes not sleeping with clients' husbands to win contracts. What are you talking about? The 3 projects we worked together, the ones where you were the lead architect and Thompson Construction was the builder?
funny how you won those contracts right around the time you started fucking Marcus. That's not, those were legitimate. Maybe, but it sure looks like a conflict of interest. I filed a complaint with the state licensing board. By the time they're done investigating, you'll be lucky to keep your license. You can't. I already did. And oh, remember that loan you took out to start your firm? The one co-signed by your elderly parents who put their retirement savings as collateral? Rachel's face went from white to green. My parents didn't do anything wrong. Neither did I, but that didn't stop me from destroying my life. Rachel was hyperventilating. I'll tell them it was all Marcus. I'll testify against him. I'll do anything. Please don't hurt my parents. I'm not hurting your parents, Rachel. You did that. You and Marcus. These are just the consequences of your choices. I stood up, put enough cash on the table to cover the bill, and looked down at her. One more thing. I've sent a detailed account of your affair to your family, your parents, your sister, your aunts and uncles, everyone. They all know exactly what kind of person you are, and I made sure to include how you betrayed someone who loved you like family. Why? She choked out. Why are you doing this? Because you took 2 years of my life, because you made me doubt my own reality, because you smiled in my face while stabbing me in the back, because you deserve to lose everything just like you tried to make me lose everything. I leaned in close, whispered in her ear, because revenge is a dish best served cold. Then I walked out of that restaurant and never looked back. So what happened to them? I know that's what you're wondering. Marcus Thompson went to trial 9 months after everything came out. The criminal charges related to fraud, bribery, and reckless endangerment. He was convicted on multiple counts. He served 2.5 years in a minimum security prison. His company, Thompson Construction, went bankrupt within 6 months of the scandal breaking. 40 years of his father's work, gone. His partners sued him personally. The hospital board sued him. Families of workers who'd been injured on his unsafe sites sued him. By the time the legal dust settled, Marcus had lost everything. He lives in a small apartment in Newark now, works as a consultant for a mid-level construction firm, making a fraction of what he used to earn. He has supervised visitation with Sophie once a month. She's polite to him, but their relationship is strained. She was 15 when everything happened, old enough to understand betrayal. Richard Thompson passed away about a year after the scandal. Marcus didn't attend the funeral. He told mutual friends he was too ashamed to face his mother. Richard left his entire estate to Sophie, with me as the trustee until she's 25. He cut Marcus out completely. Rachel lost her architecture license. The ethics investigation found enough evidence of improper conduct to justify revocation. She tried to appeal, but I'd been thorough, too thorough. Her parents did lose their house. They had to move into a small condo, and they haven't spoken to Rachel since. Her sister blocked her number. At last check, Rachel was working as a project manager for a real estate development company in Atlanta, far from New York, far from her old life. I heard through the grapevine that she reached out to Marcus after he got out of prison. He wouldn't see her. He blamed her for everything, said she seduced him, manipulated him, ruined his life. Typical. They destroyed each other in the end. I didn't even have to push that hard. I just let the truth do what truth does. And me?
I sold the house. Too many memories, too much pain in those walls. Sophie and I moved to a smaller but beautiful home in Connecticut, close enough to the city for my work, but quieter, peaceful. My architecture firm thrived. Turns out, being at the center of a massive scandal actually raised my profile. I became known as the architect who'd brought down a corrupt construction empire. People respected that. I got more high-profile contracts than ever before. I wrote a book about the experience, Building Backwards, One Woman's Journey from Betrayal to Justice. It spent 6 months on the New York Times bestseller list.
I started speaking at events about trust, betrayal, and finding your power after trauma. I became an advocate for stronger building regulations and ethics in construction. Sophie is 17 now, a senior in high school, looking at colleges. She wants to study engineering. She's smart, strong, and she knows her worth. I made sure of that. She asked me once, about a year after everything happened, if I regretted what I'd done to her father. I was honest with her. I told her, I regret that you had to see your father fall. I regret that you had to learn that people you trust can hurt you. But I don't regret seeking justice for what he did, not just to me, but to all the people his choices endangered. She thought about that for a long moment, then nodded. I think I understand. He chose to do those things. You just chose to tell the truth. Exactly. Are you happy now, Mom? Am I happy? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I'm not the same person I was before all of this happened. That version of Elena died the day I found my husband in bed with my best friend. But the person I've become, she's stronger, wiser, less trusting maybe, but more certain of her own worth. I don't think happiness is a permanent state. It's moments. And yes, I have happy moments now. When Sophie laughs at my terrible jokes, when I design something beautiful and see it become real, when I wake up in my own bed, in my own house, owing nothing to anyone who betrayed me. That's its own kind of happiness. Here's what I learned from all of this, what I want you to take away from my story. First, trust your gut. I ignored so many signs because I didn't want to believe the people I loved could betray me. But deep down, some part of me knew. If something feels wrong, investigate. Don't gaslight yourself. Second, revenge isn't always wrong. I know we're supposed to say, take the high road and let karma handle it, but sometimes karma needs help. Sometimes justice requires action. If someone has genuinely wronged you and you have the means to hold them accountable, you're not a bad person for doing so. That said, and this is important, make sure your revenge is legal and proportional. I didn't lie, I didn't fabricate evidence, I simply revealed the truth. Everything Marcus lost, he lost because of his own choices. Third, patience is power. I wanted to burn everything down the day I discovered the affair. If I had, I would have been the emotional, irrational ex-wife. Instead, I waited, I planned, I gathered evidence. When I finally acted, I was unimpeachable. Fourth, protect yourself financially, always. Even in a happy marriage, maintain your own accounts, your own credit, your own career. I was lucky that I had my architecture firm, my own income. If I'd been financially dependent on Marcus, my options would have been much more limited. Fifth, document everything. In this digital age, evidence is easy to gather and crucial to have. Those photos, recordings, and financial statements saved me in court. Without them, it would have been my word against his. Sixth, choose your allies carefully. I surrounded myself with the best lawyer, the best investigator, and people who genuinely cared about me. Patricia, my divorce attorney, became a real friend. David, my PI, went above and beyond. Find your team before you need them. Seventh, think about the long game, not just the immediate satisfaction. Yes, it felt good to watch them fall, but what felt even better was building something new and better from the ashes. Success is the best revenge. Finally, know when to let it go. After the trials ended, after the divorce was finalized, after everything was settled, I had to make a conscious choice to move forward. Revenge can become an addiction if you're not careful. There's a point where you have to say, enough, I'm done. They're not worth any more of my energy. I reached that point about 3 years after the discovery. I was at Sophie's 16th birthday party. She was laughing with her friends, and I realized that I'd spent 3 years looking backwards, ensuring Marcus and Rachel faced consequences. It was time to look forward. So I stopped checking up on them, stopped caring what they were doing or where they were. They became irrelevant to my story. That's when I finally felt free. There's one more thing I should tell you.
one final confrontation that brought everything full circle. About 6 months ago, I ran into Rachel. Complete accident. I was at a coffee shop in Manhattan, and she walked in. We locked eyes. For a moment, I thought she might turn around and leave, but instead, she walked over. Elena. Rachel. Awkward silence. "Can I sit?" she asked. Free country. She sat down across from me. She looked older, tired. There were lines on her face that hadn't been there before. "I know you don't want to hear this, but I need to say it. I'm sorry. What I did was unforgivable. I destroyed our friendship, betrayed your trust, and hurt you in ways I can never take back." I didn't respond, just waited. I've been in therapy for 2 years, trying to understand why I did what I did, not to excuse it, just to understand. And I think I was jealous of you, your success, your confidence, your perfect life. And when Marcus paid attention to me, it made me feel special, like I was chosen. It was selfish and cruel, and I hate who I was. Was? Or who you are? She flinched. Fair, who I am. I'm trying to be better. Good for you.
I know you'll never forgive me. I don't expect you to. But I wanted you to know that I understand what I lost. Not just you as a friend, but the person I used to be before I made those choices. I lost myself, too. I took a sip of my coffee, considered her words. You know what the worst part was, Rachel? It wasn't even the affair. It was the friendship betrayal. Marcus was my husband, but you were supposed to be my person, the one who would protect me from being hurt, not the one who hurt me. Tears welled in her eyes. I know. I told you everything, my fears, my insecurities, my marriage problems, and you used all of that to get closer to him. You weaponized my vulnerability. I did, and I'll spend the rest of my life regretting that. We sat in silence for a few minutes. Finally, I said, I don't forgive you. I don't think I ever will, but I don't hate you anymore either. You're just nothing to me now, and honestly, that's worse than hate. Rachel nodded slowly. I understand. For what it's worth, I'm glad you're doing well. I see your name in magazines, your designs winning awards. You deserve all of that success. I do, because I earned it, without stabbing anyone in the back. She stood up. Take care, Elena. You too, Rachel. And that was it. No dramatic final confrontation, no screaming or crying, just two strangers who used to be friends, acknowledging the damage and moving on. I haven't seen her since. So here we are, at the end of my story. I'm 42 years old now, single, successful, a mother to an incredible daughter who's stronger because she saw her mom refuse to be a victim. Do I believe in love anymore? That's complicated. I believe in it theoretically. I've seen it work for other people. But for me, I'm not sure I can ever trust someone that completely again. Maybe that'll change. Maybe I'll meet someone who proves that not everyone is Marcus or Rachel. But for now, I'm content being on my own. I've learned that you don't need a partner to be whole. You don't need validation from someone else to know your worth. You are enough exactly as you are. And if someone betrays you, whether it's a spouse, a friend, a business partner, whoever, you have choices. You can be a victim. You can accept the betrayal and move on quietly. There's no shame in that if it's genuinely what you want. Or you can fight back. You can demand justice. You can make them face consequences. Both are valid. But know this, if you choose to fight, do it smart, do it legal, do it with patience and planning. Don't let emotion drive you to do something you'll regret. The best revenge isn't about destroying someone else. It's about building yourself up so high that they become irrelevant. It's about succeeding so spectacularly that they realize what they lost. That's what I did, and you can too. Whatever you're going through right now, betrayal, divorce, loss, pain, I want you to know that it doesn't define you. It's something that happened to you, not something that is you. You get to write the next chapter. You get to decide if this is where your story ends in tragedy or where it begins in triumph. Choose triumph every single time. I'm Elena Martinez. This was my story, and I'm still writing it. Thank you for listening to my story. I know it was long, but you stuck with me through every twist and turn. That means something. If this story resonated with you, if it made you feel something, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. This channel shares real stories from real people every single week. Stories of betrayal, revenge, justice, and triumph. Drop a comment below. Tell me what you think. Was I justified? Would you have done the same thing? Did Marcus and Rachel get what they deserved? I read every single comment, and I love hearing your perspectives. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, someone who's going through betrayal, someone who needs to remember that they have power even when they feel powerless. And hit that notification bell so you never miss our next story, because trust me, we have some incredible tales coming your way. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. Until next time, remember, you are stronger than your worst day. You are bigger than your biggest betrayal, and you deserve everything good that's coming your way. This is Elena Martinez, signing off. Stay strong, stay smart, and never, ever let them see you break.